In the medieval era, the Greeks had firmly carved out one of the longest-lasting empires in history. Even though the Byzantine Empire declined in the late Middle Ages, their crown jewel of the city of Constantinople had yet to be conquered. The marvel of engineering wall system featured a 50-foot-high, 15-foot-thick inner wall with a 25-foot-high outer wall on the bank of the moat, preventing most siege weapons from being utilized. That meant if you wanted to get through the walls, you had to knock them down. 1,100 years, no one could scale them, not until they were tested one last time. Ultimately, breaches were made and Ottoman troops poured in, bringing the imperial city into Ottoman hands. When Mehmed II captured Constantinople in 1453, all of the Greek lands were finally under Ottoman rule. For nearly 400 years, most Greek-speaking lands were subject to cultural suppression, tax exploitation, and violence. Despite these hardships, Greek culture and their fire for freedom survived. However, as the years went on, the desire for Greek nationalism and independence grew ever stronger.
Now this notion of nationalism emerging as an ideology, that was the worst thing that could have happened to the Ottoman Empire during this period.
Greeks, Serbs, Romanians, and Bulgarians proclaimed themselves separate nations. Major European states saw the empire's growing weakness and tasted blood. When one Balkan province after another took up arms, European powers egged them on.
Across the world, nations such as the United States were sympathetic to the Greek cause because of their admiration for the immense impact classical and Byzantine Greece had on the world. According to Ambassador Auguste Davisax, already has the high-minded and democratic state of South Carolina, always foremost in what? Ever as noble and generous, expressed the wish that the general government should recognize Greece as an independent nation. Can we hesitate to recommend that measure? As the Enlightenment ideals of natural rights and individual liberty from the likes of John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau diffused throughout the known world, two key revolutions developed that heavily influenced the Greeks. The successful American Revolution of 1776 and French Revolution of 1789 showed the Greeks that if people with common desires for liberty convened, revolution and change was probable. According to Britannica, the impact of revolutionary ideas further intensified their Hellenism. In 1814, Greek merchants and officers met to form a secret society against the Ottomans called the Philiki Etaria, where they planned to start a revolution on March 25, 1821, which was the Feast of Annunciation. On the feast day, multiple revolts broke out in southern Greece, with the main revolt being led by Georgios Kourontitis, the future leader of the Greek Revolutionary Army. Within a month, the entire Peloponnesus, which is southern Greece, was under control of the Greek rebels. Although the Greek rebels pushed back the Ottomans and immediate success was on the horizon, two civil wars broke out between the Greeks, halting the rebellion and causing the Ottomans to gather more troops from Egypt. After the Ottoman Sultan asked for Egyptian assistance to crush the Greek rebellion, an expedition commanded by Ibrahim Pasha was carried out that captured back the entire Peloponnesus. According to Brewer et al., in February 1825, the modern, well-drilled army of Ibrahim Pasha landed at Methone and burned crops, took forts, and planted the Ottoman flag on the Acropolis. All hope seemed lost, but in 1827 there was a major shift in the war.
Looking to help the Greeks and gain territory from the conflict, Britain, France, and Russia sent a naval fleet to counter the Ottoman Armada in Navarino Bay.
On October 20th, 1827, the combined might of the British, French, and Russian navies sailed into Navarino Bay with their gunports raised, and the battle was joined. In the end, it was a completely one-sided affair. Outgunned and outmatched, over 60 Egyptian and Ottoman ships were consigned to the bottom of Navarino Bay, condemning over 6,000 hands to drown with them. In contrast, the Allies suffered less than 200 fatal casualties and lost no ships. Mehmed Ali's modern navy, the pride of invincible Egypt, had been obliterated, and as a result, an absolutely crippling blow had been dealt to Sultan Mahmud II. After the Battle of Navarino, the result of the Greek War of Independence was set in stone. For 6 long years the fate of Hellas had been hanging in the balance, but now Greece would be free.
Realizing the weakening state of the Ottoman military and economy, the Greeks and Europeans seized the opportunity to push back the Ottomans to Constantinople, forcing the Sultan to sue for peace in 1828. The War for Greek Independence is an example of revolution, a reaction, and a reform in history. The revolution itself was a reaction to Ottoman oppression, an effort to overthrow the Ottoman government in Greece. The revolution was spontaneous, and there was no consolidation of military forces in the beginning. According to Williamson, there was little coordination of the Greek forces. Having ejected the Ottomans, there seemed to be no overall strategy for the consolidation of their gains. The Ottomans' reaction to the spontaneous revolts around Greece was to hold citizens and church leaders captive to quickly quell the revolts, but their actions only further invigorated the Greek cause. The Ottomans were confined to their fortresses, and with the collaboration of the Greeks' allies, they were driven out of Greece. Through this, a new reformed Greek state was being established, with alterations and improvements fueled by Western ideology and ideals.
According to Brewer et al., the London Protocol determined that the Greek state would be a monarchy, ruled by the quote-unquote ruler of sovereign of Greece. A temporary government was formed by Ioannis Kapodistrias, but the fate of Greece and its political status was still being debated among its European allies and the Ottomans. In the meantime, quick reform began in mainland Greece. Although under economic stress and political dissension, Kapodistrias gained support for a campaign to create infrastructure, including building orphanages, schools, courthouses, farms, military schools, and prisons, and he also supported a campaign to gain control over trade in the Aegean. Unfortunately, Kapodistrias was assassinated in October of 1831, but his foundations led into the next chapter of Greece. Finally, in 1832, Greece, its allies, and the Ottomans came to an agreement in the Treaty of Constantinople. In this treaty, Greece was recognized as an independent monarchy by the Ottomans and the rest of the world under its first ruler, King Otto of Bavaria. Immediately, Greece took full political and economic control over central/southern Greece and the western Aegean islands. The new government gave each peasant family and veteran of the war 20 acres of newly acquired Ottoman land each, bringing many Greeks out of poverty in the coming years. The War for Greek Independence marked a key event in the decline of the Ottoman Empire. It showed the other marginalized Christian groups oppressed by the Ottomans that they could have successful rebellions as well. According to New World Encyclopedia, in the surrounding region, this would give hope to other subject peoples of the Ottoman Empire, as Serbs, Bulgars, Romanians, and Arabs would all successfully throw out the Turks and establish free states. The War for Greek Independence was an example that showed the world if people with a common desire for freedom come together, revolution and reform is possible. This was the first time that a marginalized Christian people rebelled against the Ottomans and succeeded in creating a new sovereign state. The Greek Revolution inspired a new wave of Balkan rebellions that led to the creation of new nations and the eventual collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Although not at first, the Greek people came together united to fight against their Ottoman oppressors. All in all, their efforts alongside the European allies resulted in a free Greece, not shackled by the cultural suppression, tax exploitation, and violence of the Ottoman Empire. Thank you for watching my documentary on the War for Greek Independence. Have a great day.